Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and this one is a page where there is a cutout on the first page, so it's like a page that you can see through. So I'm starting off using Dina's Alpha Block stencil. This is a page that I created quite a while ago, so if you follow me on Instagram you will have seen this quite a long time ago on my Instagram feed, but I've got a bit behind with editing my videos, so apologies about that. So I'm going to write the word nourish across the centre of my page. So I'm starting off at the end of the word, making sure that I can fit it all in, and just lining up these letters so that each one touches the letter before, and that way it will stay joined together when I cut the rest of the page away. So now I'm just using my scalpel type craft knife with my little cutting mat and just carefully cutting out the spaces around the letters. This is sped up quite a bit, so if this was in real time you would see that I actually do cut quite slowly. It's the best way to be sure you're not going to accidentally slice your finger, or worse, slice something out of your page that you don't want missing. So yeah, just to take your time really, and I think, give it a try. You will surprise yourselves. You will realise that actually it isn't as difficult as it looks, and you can create some really fun pages by just cutting little bits away. It's fun to be able to see behind to what's on the page behind, and you can create that really nice sort of layered journal page effect. So that's what I'm going for here really. This first page is just going to have this word across the centre, and eventually there'll be a piece of acetate or transparency behind it, which I will then add some colour and stamping onto as well. But the main interest page will be the one behind. That will be where my focal image is going to be. So once I've cut all that away, then I'm just cutting the giant piece of craft away, and then cutting the centres out of the letters as well. But although you don't have to do that at all. I do keep the larger pieces of craft that I cut out of my page, because they can be used as extra add-ons. So next I'm going in on the page behind using some matte medium and lots of different patterns and pieces of collage paper, just to create an initial start on that background for the page that's going to be created here. Just layering up different pieces. So I've got text, I've got pattern, just to start to create that interesting background. So next I'm going in with the sponge roller and just some white paint, and I am just lightly applying some paint over the background. This is a really fun way to get some colour onto the background of your page, and it leaves up quite a nice texture behind as well. And it's a good way to get a bit of variety in the way the paint is applied. So then I'm using turquoise and one of Dina's big round brushes. It's got a little bit of water in it, so you can see it's spreading that paint around quite nicely. And I'm just applying some paint onto the background too. So then this is orchid, and while the paint is wet I'm going in with the orchid. So orchid and turquoise make the most pretty lilac colour. I think it is one of my favourites, so they blend really nicely. So this stencil is called Cover Stencil. It's from Dina. It's one of her more recent releases, not the most recent. And here I'm just going in again with some turquoise and a blending tool and just adding some stenciling onto the background. And unusually for me, I've added 4 areas of stenciling. Oh my gosh. And then I'm going in with the orchid, and I'm again using the alpha block stencil. So this kind of echoes the first page, really, having used this to trace those letters onto that cutout page in front. And to start off with, I'm only using the same colours for the stenciling that I've used on the background. Now I'm introducing a slightly different colour, but it's still within ones that will work nicely together. So this is Ocean that I'm using now through this dotty stencil, which is also by Dina. Now I'm going in with the Growing Things mask and some white paint. I don't think I've changed my blending tool, so the white is going a kind of really pale blue. It's really pretty, and I'm just masking over this botanical leaf stem onto my page as well. This is quite pretty. I really loved how this page came together with the colours. I think some of my favourite colours. So this is just helping to calm that busy background down. And you can see how it really draws attention to those botanical shapes that it's stenciled through. But you can still see the background peeping through. It's such a lovely technique. I think it's one of my favourites at the minute. I definitely get fixated on doing certain techniques more than others. So I'm kind of using this masking to sort of frame my page, I guess, really, because I'm going to do a little bit at the top as well once I'm happy with this bit at the bottom. But I'm only using a little bit of the botanical stalk there, just peeping in from the top of the page. So then I am just going over the lettering on the cutout page just with white again, and the border too, just so that it will help those letters to stand out from the background. Just using the blending tool to get that paint on there, it creates a really nice application of the paint. It's a bit softer than using a brush. And then I'm using this face stamp from the Make Things Happen stamp set. This is, as I've said so many times, it's one of my favourite faces. It's got a really soft, gentle face, I think, this one. And I'm going to give this one a sort of paper doll type body shape as well. So here I'm using a matte medium to stick this down. I'm going to be doing the same with the body shape as well. I'm using a piece of patterned collage paper for that. And then once that's cut out and stuck in place, I'm just marking here where I want it to be. I do save these little bits that get cut off, so they go into my scrap paper box. I'm sure none of you have seen those little cookie bites at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, have you? No, they definitely aren't there. I'm sticking that body in place, and then once it's dry I also outline it using a Stabilo oil pencil. So here I'm using the chevron stamp from the same Make Things Happen stamp set with some purple ink, archival ink. I love that stamp, it's so directional, it really focuses the attention where they're pointing. Then I decided I would add black around the border of the cutout page with the word in the centre. Yep, helps to frame that nicely. Then I'm just water activating the Stabilo all pencil marks around the body. And I've added a little bit of pink on the cheeks as well. So then I've just mixed up a kind of really light grey colour, and I'm just adding a little bit of that to the left hand side of the figure, just to give that a bit more, to make it a bit less see-through, I suppose, really, and all because I wanted to stamp onto there too, so it makes a good base for this stamping. These hearts are from one of Dina's other sets. I was just marking out there what I was going to write, So I'm going in with my Posca pen. You'll notice I've also added some little tiny white dots onto my page. That's using the little stamp you can see on the acrylic block at the top right of the screen. That's one that I designed for Funky Fossil. So I've done a little bit of writing, and then I'm just going in and making one side of each of the letters a little bit bolder. Makes them sort of jump out from the page a bit more. So next I've stuck a piece of acetate or transparency behind this cutout page, because I decided I wanted to add some stenciling onto the acetate. Now this is possible as long as you leave it to dry. It is safer to let it air dry in its own time. Using a heat tool can be a little bit risky, because sometimes the acetate will buckle if it gets too warm. So I've gone in with the permanent red violet light from Amsterdam Acrylic, and then I'm just adding a little bit of orchid into that as well. And I'm using one of Dina's heart stencils just to add those hearts going through that page with the acetate on. Pretty. So then once that's dry, I then go in and just add a word onto the figure as well, and some text stamping onto the acetate, as well as some neon pink splatters. I've just covered over the face. I'm adding the splatters onto the acetate as well. So I'm just adding a bit of text stamping using some archival ink, so you can see bits of this peeping through from the other side. And this is a page that works quite well from both angles. So here's a really fun cutout page that you can see through, using lots of Dina's lovely things. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope you found some inspiration, and I'll see you again soon.